I'm Rod Freitag. I'm a professor of political science, and the course is Political Science 110, American National Politics. Well, the course itself is typically divided into three parts, and so in terms of the content, first part is foundational kinds of material where you are talking about the type of political system we have, the meaning of democracy. We look at the Constitution. We talk about separation of powers, and federalism, and civil liberties and civil rights. Second part of the course is on politics, so public opinion, ideology, voting, elections, parties, interest groups, all that fun stuff. And part three is on the governing institutions. And so while we may have talked about the branches of government when we talked about separation of powers in part one, we finished the course with a unit that covers more detailed information on Congress, the president, bureaucracy, and the courts. One objective is simply to make sure students understand the basic material of American government, the concepts, the ideas, the institutions, of the language we use about our political system. The way I teach it, I identify three specific learning objectives for the students. I want them to be informed citizens, and so they should be able to follow political events and the news after they have had the course. Secondly, I want them to be, this may sound fanciful, but I want them to be able to be a political analyst so that they can explain outcomes in our political system. It might be an election outcome, it might be a policy debate we're having and something Congress does. I want them to be able to analyze that result, and just like the talking heads, the pundits on TV, to be able to explain that. And thirdly, I want them to be political problem solvers. One of the themes in my course, the way I teach American national politics, is to focus on reform. So we first identify throughout the course, we identify problems with our political system, and then solutions. We usually have an extra supplemental book that's on some kind of reform of our political system, and so I want students to be able to think through not just what's wrong with and there are plenty of things wrong with our political system, but also then to think about, well, what could we do to fix it? So the lecture you're going to see a little bit of is on bureaucracy. We want government, we want the EPA, we want the Food and Drug Administration, we want the IRS, we want all these agencies to do things in the most efficient way possible. Not for political reasons. We don't want them making decisions because of who has the most political power. We want them to make decisions based upon what's the right thing to do. Should that drug be approved for consumption? That's what the FDA has to decide. Should automakers be required to follow the new gas mileage standards? Should companies be allowed to pollute this much? That's what the EPA has to decide. They should decide that not because that company is powerful, but because that's what's best for the environment. So we want them to separate politics from the administrative decisions. So that's how we say it, separate politics from administration. The value there then is what's sometimes called neutral competence. I think it should help students to be able to follow decisions made by our government. There'll be headlines with decisions made by these bureaucratic agencies, and as citizens we need to be informed about what those agencies are and what they can do, and how they're controlled, and how they fit into our democracy where the people are supposed to rule. And so that's really the larger point of the lecture, is to get students to understand how bureaucracy fits into our political system. Democracy requires us to have informed citizens, and so a course like this provides that basic information, that knowledge, and hopefully sparks some interest so that going forward throughout the rest of their lives, these students will understand the importance of individuals in our political system and ways in which you can make a difference.